It's time to flip the script. Since your birth, you've been programmed with a script everybody in your upbringing has given you, your parents, society, teachers, and it wasn't through any ill intentions of them. That was the script that they received growing up, that their parents gave them. But it's time to break that cycle and it's time to flip the script. And the script that's been given to you is something along the lines of go to school, go work a 9 to 5 job, get married, have kids, and then die. And nowhere along the line was the true purpose of life revealed, the evolution of your consciousness and that spiritual growth. And coming along with that script, you're also going to pick up patterns that the people around you are enacting, such as a constant worry and fear and underlying anxiety. Someone might ask you how you're doing, and you'll say you're doing good, or you'll say you're doing fine. But underneath that is a sort of dread and anxiety that you're not living your life to your full potential, and that you know deep down there's something missing and there's something more to life. So how do you flip the script, and how do you find that new script, that authentic version of being that you want to embody? Your true script and your true mission in life is not something necessarily that you have to invent or that you have to come up with. It's something that lies deep within your soul that's always been with you. However, growing up with all of the various traumas or difficulties you may have encountered, the sort of low vibration that society is emitting around you, when you were a child, you didn't have the resources to cope with this. So that true mission and that true essence of who you are was hidden deep inside of yourself and was locked away to be expressed later on, because there just wasn't room to express that pure joyfulness of being in those strenuous circumstances. You became hurt and you had to lock up the true essence of who you are and the true purpose of why you incarnated on this planet at this time. It wasn't just random that you were born into the circumstances that you were. It was due to the karma you had to work out and to the unique attributes you have to offer to the world and to progress things on the world stage. So how do we tap into that? There's two things that are required. The first one is deconstructing the script you've been given, sort of deconstructing reality, what you think reality is, what you've been told to believe that the purpose of life is and that reality is, to kind of just live a comfortable life and have a nice family. And I'm not saying these things are bad, and having a family can be a genuine purpose, and that can be great, and that can be an experience you came here to have. But let's make sure that's coming authentically from your soul and not from a programmed belief from those around you. So deconstructing and just questioning everything of, why we're here and why people and why you partake in the patterns that you do. Things like, why do people drink and smoke and partake in substances all the time, or feel the need to go out in these stimulating environments and clubs and party and pick up girls? What is all of this? Why can't we just be content within ourselves, how God created us? Why is it that we're so compulsively seeking outside of ourselves, imagining that something's going to make us happy or fulfilled? And things like having a partner and having a girlfriend, those are experiences I want too. But there was a time in my life where that was a compulsive seeking sexual experiences, or just thinking that finding someone outside of myself was going to make me happy, rather than already being whole and complete inside myself and then wanting to share that with another person, and that being a beautiful experience to have. But there's a major difference in those two things. So the first thing that's required is really questioning all this and also just doing the inner work on yourself, finding out what sort of emotions you've trapped inside that you don't want to confront, just facing your demons head on, facing your fears, coming to terms that there's anger or sadness or some of these emotions inside of you that you really just need to sit with and feel. And certain modalities can help you work that out, certain somatic exercises, just going to the gym, going on a nice walk every now and then, just taking some time to journal and write things out about how you feel and just envision what you want your ideal life to be. Now we're coming into that second step, which is being receptive to what your soul is trying to express and exposing yourself to higher consciousness sort of material, cultivating your social media feed so that what you're seeing is uplifting, inspiring, spiritual material, and watching videos like this is a good sign that you're on the right track there. But yeah, you want to cultivate the information that's coming in such that it's going to support where you want to go. And, maybe get away from all these violent action movies and gangster rap songs and, all this stuff that's mainstream, but that is not really going to uplift your consciousness. It's actually going to draw your consciousness downward. So you want to be intentional with what information and content that you take in, because whatever you take in is also going to be reflected then in what you output to the world and what your general state of consciousness is. And things that can really help you identify your life purpose: visualization, really thinking about and visualizing where you want to go. Meditation, just sitting in meditation and letting all those old thought patterns and old stories come up and just watch them pass by and watch them get purified in the love of God. And another aspect to all this is you don't want to feel like it's just your ego planning and scheming to fulfill certain goals. You really want to first meditate, even if it's 5-10 minutes before you work, before you do a certain activity. Meditate 5-10 minutes or journal for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever, go on a walk, whatever's going to help you sort of just be in the present moment and have that power of God and the universe behind you. You want to feel that as you're creating your life, you certainly have to put in the effort and think about it and execute. But you can also receive a lot of that inspiration and intuition from God and feel that God is working with you to create your ideal reality. Because when it comes from the ego and when it comes from selfishness, it's never going to work in the long term. You might have some success, but you're not going to feel that joy and peace bubbling up inside of you. Maybe temporarily, but it's not going to last. To where if you're just working for God and working in tune with God's will, you're going to know that you're doing that from the increasing joy and peace you feel in your life. And that's when you know you're on the right track. And over time, as you develop your intuition, you'll sort of feel when you're doing something, it's hard to explain, but there'll be a certain feeling that it's not quite right, a certain jitteriness, and just, you're going to know that's not the right activity and the right way to go. Where if you're doing an aligned action in the will of God and in your highest interest and the interest of those around you, you're going to feel that you're supported by the universe and you're going to feel joyful doing it. But before you get to that point, again, both are needed, also doing the inner work and questioning your old patterns of being. Because sometimes you can feel excited about something and really think it's a good idea, and you might mistake that for a deeper intuition and a feeling that God's guiding you in this direction, when really it's just your ego trying to satisfy one of its desires. So deep introspection over time is really required to get to the root of your intentions. You want to make sure your intentions are pure with whatever you're doing. And there's no reason not to do this. You may feel like you're giving up something. You may feel like you're losing something. But when you let go of those desires and you just be okay with what God gives you and what the universe puts in front of you, that's a much more joyful way of living, and that allows you to be joyful no matter what the external circumstance is. And when you live like that, God's going to take care of you and provide for you more than you even would have imagined in the first place. So let me just think if there's anything else I wanted to touch upon here. Just continue to meditate. Just do what's in your best interest. There's no reason not to try your best. It's going to be uncomfortable. A lot of things are going to come up, but just be present with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You're not going to entirely heal yourself overnight. Don't beat yourself up about it. And actually, I wanted to touch on some of what my experience has been as I've been trying to figure out what the direction of this channel is going to be, how I'm going to make myself of service and help you, and what I'm going to offer. I've been having a lot of ideas as to where it can go, and I've been having a lot of inspiration, but the difficulty has been the execution of coming out here. And I've been pretty consistent recording the videos, but just taking that next step forward of posting on social media, of starting a mentorship group, all these ideas, and then things from the past has come up. I used to be a video game developer, and I've been getting the itch to, I want to go back to game development, want to finish this game I was working on. And even other things, like a bunch of ideas of things I want to do maybe in the future, or even right now with this business, a lot of different ideas. For those of us that are creative, there can be a lot of ideas, but it can be overwhelming of thinking, am I going in the right direction? And how is it all going to turn out? What's it going to look like in the end? It can get really overwhelming, and we can start to overthink things. So the point I've gotten to with all this, that I'm now at and that I'm really doing my best to embody, is just focus on what's in front of me. Just after meditation, just take the action that feels most aligned and just focus on doing that with my full concentration, and just trusting that taking it one day at a time, things are going to work out. And just taking all that inspiration and energy and bringing it back down into the body and taking consistent, grounded action on a daily basis. That's what's going to get us there, because we can have all that inspiration and we can have a million great ideas, but if we never put the action, and we can have the backing of God and our spirit guides, but if we never take that action and put in the effort, nothing's going to happen. God helps those who helps themselves, and who put in the action. Both is required, your own action and the inspiration coming from a higher power. Yogananda said that 25% comes from your own effort, 25% comes from the grace of your mentor or your guru, and 50% comes from the grace of God. But that 25% of your own effort is going to take all you have. That's going to be all your energy that you're putting into this, but it should be a joyful experience when you're moving in the right direction. And for me, there's been some old wounds and some old patterns of being afraid to put myself out there, or being afraid of the discipline it's going to take, or just thinking too far ahead. And it's good to think ahead and plan, but not to fixate upon what the outcome is going to be. Detaching from outcomes is another very important part of this. Put in the full effort with joy and with gratitude, and leave the results up to God. The results aren't up to you, but the action in itself is going to expand your consciousness and just move you to a place you want to be, where you're joyful regardless of what the outcome is, and you have faith in God to take care of your needs and provide for you. So with that being said, I hope this video is useful for you. And just to give a little update on where things are going, I was posting on Twitter for a little bit, but I decided that it just wasn't really in alignment with the quality of content on Twitter and the character limit. I decided what I want to use now is Substack. So I've been thinking about kind of how I want to structure that, and I'll be posting a newsletter on there, and just figure it out as I go on that platform. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be my secondary platform that I use. And then down the line, I'm planning on starting a spiritual mentorship group known as the Oasis Fellowship Group. And that's just going to be a space where I really help you find the spiritual techniques or modalities or just way of living and mindsets that are best for you, and just have an uplifting environment where we can all raise each other up and inspire each other to put our best foot forward in life, and to just sort of unwire those, as I talked about earlier in the video, to unwire what we've come to believe is important in life, or just those beliefs and desires that are holding us back, transmuting that into a higher vision and a higher purpose for living. So stay tuned for that. And if there's anything you want me to talk about in the future, feel free to drop a comment if there's any topics you want me to cover. And I'd appreciate it if you drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next one.